Hello folks, welcome to my very first Hotpoint vacuum cleaner unboxing. Now Hotpoint are a relatively new manufacturer in vacuums. I say that, I know I can hear a lot of you shouting, no, they've been around years. Yes, I remember Hotpoint. They've been around for quite a long time and they did make vacuum cleaners. The one I remember the most is the Hotpoint Light and Easy. But they also produced some machines in the 80s, or in fact Bosch produced some machines in the 80s that were branded Hotpoint. But it's only fairly recently that Hotpoint have re-entered the floor care market. Now, the only reason I bought this machine was it was on a very good promotional deal from Amazon. I got this vacuum cleaner for around £50. So I thought I would try it. Let's have a look what's in the box. First of all, we have a metal extension wand. Looks like it's a pretty standard generic wand. I've seen this design with many vacuum cleaners. That particular little catch looks very familiar. So it's a decent length telescopic tube. That's first thing. Second thing out of the box, we've got what looks like the instruction book. Get my knife. So we have the instructions. Oh, we have the energy label. Let's see, it's a C for energy use. I think it's a 1000-watt motor, this machine. It gets a B for dust emission, a D for carpet cleaning performance, a B for hard cleaning performance, and it's 80 decibels. Not too noisy. Right, for some reason this small nozzle was in the bag with the instructions. Your furniture nozzle with 2 litter pickers. And also, in the same bag, we have 2 AAA batteries. I wonder what those are for. Well, we'll soon find out. I do know what they're for. Here's the hose. Looks relatively short. Don't know, I don't think it's tapered. Let's just move the box out the way a bit. And here's the handle with some protection on. And we'll soon find out why we need batteries in this vacuum. Because it has a remote control on the hand grip. I'm going to have to take my little knife again, carefully cut without damaging it. Let's just rip it off. So for a machine that was so cheap, I think it was about £55. To have a remote control on the hand grip is pretty good. So with this, once we put the batteries in, you can switch the machine on and off and vary the power. You've got a pause button to pause your machine cleaning, and also there is a manual vent as well, so you can adjust the motor speed and control the airflow with that little vent. I'm assuming, yes, that's where the batteries go. Well, while we've got it open, we might as well pop the batteries in. I was expecting there to be a screw. I'm used to putting batteries in toys, where of course you need to undo them with a screw so children don't swallow them, but obviously this is not a toy, so they've obviously not needed to do that. So I say it's not a toy, obviously to some children a vacuum is a toy. There we go, I think that's in. Now, to me, I think there was some comment about this. That isn't very secure. I think one reviewer did mention that comes off and they had to put some tape around it. So it is on, but it didn't really click very well into place. I think this is an infrared remote. You can see there's a little transmitter there. Also there, and there. So it's got 4 little transmitters to send the infrared signal to the cleaner to adjust the power. Now the better remotes, like the ones you find on Miele cleaners, the Miele cleaners without a power hose, they use what's called an RF remote, which is a radio frequency remote, so you don't have to be pointing the handle anywhere near the machine. It will still adjust the power. So that's one little negative. It's quite a comfy handle, and it looks like you can take the hose off. I won't do it now, but there's two buttons either side. The hose will come off in case there's a blockage. And this is the cleaner end. So that's the hose with the remote. Next, this nozzle looks familiar. I think I've opened an AEG with a parquet brush very like this. Obviously this one's branded Hotpoint parquet brush. So that's for your hard floors, your wooden floors, etc. It's not very delicate, the brushes, they are quite rigid. So that's your dedicated hard floor nozzle. Next we have the standard carpet and floor nozzle. Deluxe multi-brush, it says on it. All plastic. Most manufacturers seem to have done away with a metal base plate. Even many Miele's now are a plastic base plate. Looks a familiar nozzle. Fairly light. Doesn't feel all that good quality. This is made in China, this vacuum. You've got a brush at the front, little squeegee at the back. You've got your litter pickers, pretty standard affair. Two wheels. You've got your exposed bellows, and you've got a multi-position joint. So that's your main carpet and floor nozzle. Doesn't come with a full-size turbo nozzle. I believe there is a version that does have a full-size turbo, but I have seen a mini turbo nozzle. And Hotpoint brand this a sofa brush. Again, fairly generic looking. This one, unlike many, it doesn't seem you can get into it if you need to unclog it, but it looks like you have to undo the screws. There's no easy access inside this one. But it is clear, so you can actually see if you clog it up. So that's your turbo brush. I think that'll be all the tools. Oh, what's this? Oh, a bag of bits. Let's have a look. I think for what I paid, it's an absolute bargain. I think these retail for well over £100 normally. Right. I think that is the bag collar. This machine is bagged, but it also can be used bagless. So, here's a bag. Seems pretty strong. It's a fleecy type bag. And I assume that the bag will go into here. So when you're using it as a bagged vacuum, you put that in place of the bagless cassette that should be fitted inside. What else have we got? For some reason, there is a separate seal. Whether that's a spare or you have to put that in when you're using it bagged, I'm not sure. And you have a filter. That looks like a pre-motor filter, complete with its cage. So I'm wondering whether these three items have to be inserted to use it as a bagged cleaner. You may not need this pre-motor filter when you're using it bagless. I wonder. We'll soon find out with the instructions. I think that's everything apart from the cleaner itself. I was quite surprised at the size of the box. It seemed much more compact than I expected it to be. It's quite heavy actually. Right, that's everything. Hotpoint launched these, I think they call them Trolley. What do they call them? Trolley, well they call this Trolley anti-allergy Trolley vac. What's the model? Can't tell you the model at the moment. They launched these, a few years ago, not that long ago, but they had higher wattage motors. But they launched them just before the EU regulations came into effect. So obviously they didn't last long with the high wattage. It's quite stylish. It's quite a stylish little vacuum. It is, as I say, it's made in China, but it does seem pretty solid initially. It's got nice smooth running wheels, and again we've got a lot of branding on this. We've got Hotpoint branding on the wheel hub either side. I quite like it. I don't know if I'd pay sort of the full retail for this, but as I say, I like to try different vacuums, and when I see a vacuum that is about £55, I think this was, I thought, well, I'll give it a go. So that's the cord. So it's got automatic cord rewind. You've also got a foot operated on off switch, but you should be able to turn it on and off via the remote. There's this that says open. I think there's a little tool in here. So yes, you've got onboard tool storage just for this terribly tiny little short crevice tool, and a reasonable dusting brush. A bit small, but it's relatively soft brushes, not too bad, and that just nestles inside the brush and fits in there. So you still have to find somewhere to store this nozzle, unless there's something. I don't think there's anything to hold it on the cleaner, so you have to store that separately. Let's have a look underneath. So you've got two big wheels, and they seem to have some sort of a rubber tyre on them, which is good. They seem pretty solid. They're two smooth running casters. So it is 1000 watts, made in PRC. It says Indesit Company, and the model is SLD10 BAB. So you can hold the machine, carry the machine with the carry handle, as you would expect to with a normal cylinder vacuum. But you've also got a little button here that says push. So when you press that button, out comes a handle, very like a little suitcase. So you can pretend to be, I was going to say a trolley dolly, but we'll use the correct term. You can pretend to be a flight attendant in your own home, if you so wish. Or if you want to stand out at the airport, you could always take this as in your hand luggage and just pop some sandwiches inside and just pull this along and have a very snazzy little, quite impractical bag. But anyway, that's quite useful to have that. You can pull the machine along using the trolley because it does move very easily. Obviously when you're using it normally, you'll tuck the handle away and pull it along by the hose. So we can just push that again, and that goes in there. So it's got a bag check indicator on the top, looks like it's a light, and there's a button at the front saying open. So up comes the translucent cover, and we've got access to the dust box. So yes, as I thought, it's a bit of a faff. To use it bagless, this is how you'd use it, but to use it bagged, when I've taken this out, there's obviously, this is the motor behind here, so obviously you'd have to put that in. You'd have to put the bag in. I assume like that, that's it. But you'd also have to put the seal. Now, I did read one review and they said they'd left the seal on all the time. I'm wondering if you can do that. It's a bit odd that you have to put the seal on and take it off. It might work with the seal left in place, to be honest. We'll have to see. I think this reviewer recommended leaving the seal in. Whether the instruction books say, if the seal was supposed to stay in, I think Hotpoint would have fitted it. But it does seem a bit of a faff. I think if you were to buy this cleaner, you would probably use it either bagged or bagless all the time. I don't know whether, and there was, you know, I remember bagged and bagless cleaners available. I mean, Hoover had their sensory model. There was a sensory that took bags as well as using the bagless cassette, but you didn't have to fit a seal around, and you didn't have to fit an extra filter. You just took the bagless cassette out and put the bag in with the Hoover one. So that's a bit fiddly to put that on. I've not put it in correctly. So have I put that in correctly there? No, see, I don't think I've put the seal down, but that would be when you're using it bagged. That would come out. You'd have to take that out because I'm sure you can't leave that in. But there may be a way. In fact, I think it probably, once that's in, yes, there's no reason why you can't leave the seal in place. I'll see what it says in the instructions. I'll tell you all about it when I do the demo. Here is the bagless unit. Again, it's a bit similar to the Hoover one. You've got filter on the back, looks HEPA, pleated. Assume it's washable. Seems that's a double layered. You've got this foam part as well as the pleated HEPA part. I think it is washable. I think I've read it's washable. So that's on the back. You've got a very very basic sort of cyclone. This is what reminds me of the Hoover one. Let's open it. How do you open it here at the top? You can see there. So the dirt enters somewhere. Must be actually the dirt enters through the top here, goes through the middle section and into this small cyclone bit. It will spin round and then it'll eventually go into the bin. You've got this little doobry. I think that's a little fail-safe to stop you putting this back into the cleaner without the filter in place. Obviously you need to put the filter in. So it looks a solid enough machine. As I say, there are different versions available. I think the main difference is in the cleaning tools provided. There's certainly a cheaper version, and there's one, I'm sure, it's got a full-sized pet tool. Okay, I've got it plugged in. I've had a quick preview. It turned on when I pressed the mains button. It seems relatively quiet. Now it turned on here, but once you've turned it on with the foot pedal, you can of course control the machine using the remote. I think it went on to full power, not sure. So that's minimum. Yes, it is pretty quiet really, even on full power. You can pause the cleaning just by pressing the pause play button there. So it should turn on again when I press it again. And just here in the middle is the receiver for the remote. I think that's pretty good. I think it seems pretty solid. It seems manoeuvrable. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that for what I paid. Obviously I've not tried it out yet, but first impressions. Oh, here's the back of the machine. So it does have the exhaust at the back. Can be a disadvantage. It's got parking bracket on the back as well. Not sure, I don't think it's got a... Oh, it has. It's got a storage bracket too. Just here, storage slot. Well, I'm pretty pleased I chose this. It was a sort of an impulse buy, as a lot of vacuums I buy are. just because it was so cheap. Here's the final post motor. This is HEPA 13. Did I tell you the dust emissions? I think I did. Despite the HEPA filters, it only gets a B, which is still pretty good. But all in all, I think that's a smart little vacuum. If you can pick one up for around under £60, it might be worth going for. Let's connect up the tube. There we are. Pop the Deluxe multi-brush on. So it's just a push fitting. Seems to be standard 32mm size. So if you've got any other 32mm tools, it should fit this Hotpoint. So I'll see about bags. Hopefully they'll be easy to get hold of and not too expensive. Because if I was to use this, obviously this is not going to be used as a regular vacuum. I will be doing a demo, but I think I'd prefer personally to use it bagged. I'll test it bagless as well to see if there's any difference in the suction performance. Now I could put the bag in now and see, but I'll use it bagless because just for this initial quick going over. Let's extend the wand. So it's quite a nice height. That's at its full extension. Oh no, one more. So that's too much for me. But so if you're tall, it'll be okay. I'll lower it down a bit. Yeah, let's see what it's like with the old trolley. Push the button. You could lift it like that with the trolley handle out, but you can just pull that from room to room using the trolley system. I'll just tuck it back. Yeah, quite like that. Right, let's give it a go. I don't really like the feel of the nozzle on the floor. What's quite a good vacuum could be let down by a poor nozzle. I've used worse, and it was on full power, and it didn't. It was fairly easy to push, even on full power. Let me just. Oh no! I thought for a minute I had it in the floor position, which would have explained it, but no, it was on carpet setting. Before I go, let's have a look at the mini turbo brush. Let's switch on. Probably be quite noisy. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, seems all right for what it is. Well, all in all, seems okay, really. First impressions. Let's just check that the automatic cord rewind is okay on this. It's got tangled up. Let's untangle it before I press the button. And yeah, I'll hold the plug. I don't want it bashing into the machine. Go for this side. You'll be able to see better, perhaps. There we go. Oh, that's a good. Yep, that's a good action. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, pretty pleased with that.